Thanks a lot, Janice, and also thanks, Luke and Rianda and Sarah and Sharon. They were fantastic presentations. So I hope everyone on the call is enjoying it as much as I am. So today I just wanted to quickly introduce what is Microsoft Power BI and some of the different applications that I've used it across the water and the environmental industry. But I'd just like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners from where I'm presenting today, which is the Wurundjeri people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. So firstly though, just an introduction of me. So my name's Christian, I'm an environmental analyst and also one of the co-founders at DiscoverEI, where we focus on developing data management, data visualization tools for the environmental and water industry. As Janice said at the start, I'm on the committee of the RBMS and I'm also a certified trainer and solutions associate in BI reporting. And I'm an environmental engineer having worked in environmental consulting for over 10 years. And there's a few fun facts about me that you can see on the bottom there. But what I wanted to speak to you about in the short session that we have today is really three key things. So why, based on my experiences, I've seen how data processing and visualization tools are really important in our industry. A bit of an introduction through what is Power BI for those people that are less familiar with the tool. And also show you some use cases of how it's being applied across the water and the environmental industries. But I thought it would just be nice to start with a little bit about my story and how I came to find Power BI and use it on a day-to-day basis. So having worked as an environmental engineer, I spent a lot of time working on projects in contaminated land assessment and remediation. And as part of the roles and the projects, a lot of my time was spent in data processing world. So processing, analyzing data across multiple different platforms that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. And at the end of these projects, how we would communicate the results and the data was package them up into these traditional monster-based reports, like a lot of information, and give this to our clients. And just saw a real challenge in terms of being able to extract the data that our clients wanted and be able to use that to make informed decisions in terms of making best decisions moving forward. And so enter Power BI, which I found to be a much more streamlined and transparent workflow in terms of managing and also visualizing data, where you got the ability to connect to a range of different sources and bring that information into a centralized database where you can mold the data to a database structure. You can then use the tool to build really nice interactive reports people can use and play with. And you've got the flexibility to be able to publish this data to the web, or you can securely share the reports with your wider project team and stakeholders. One of the best features about this workflow is that as new data becomes available, the workflow allows you to be able to hit refresh and bring that extra information in to automate the updates of these interactive Power BI reports. And it's mainly focused on four key components, Power BI. You have the Power Query engine, which is where you spend time completing your ETL processes. You have the ability to do data modeling and perform powerful calculations. The visualizations, really nice front-end interface, which is what most people are actually familiar with and you see at the end. And also you can publish these reports to the online service for collaboration. And Power BI is just one business intelligence tool of many that are out there, and you might be more familiar with some of these other ones on the left. So I've explained what Power BI is, but quite often it's a lot easier if I actually just show you some examples of it. So what I've got here is a short 2-minute video that hopefully will play quite well. And I just want to talk you through as we go through this video. So one of the greatest challenges we have is the threat of population growth and climate change impacts in terms of our future water supply. So what I've found really powerful about Power BI is you're able to bring data in a way that makes it a lot easier for your end report users to be able to interpret the information. Interactive reports coupled with information here, such as tooltips, modeling forecast scenarios, traffic light sort of based risk assessment metrics. You can embed tools so you can understand your systems a lot more clearly. And combining spatial context information with data paints a really powerful message in terms of how we can make decisions to better serve our community. Here's an example where we've applied it to largely qualitative based data to understand an environmental scorecard and our ecosystem health. And you can see just by filtering through the different elements and coupling the data with images and also video footage, such as drone footage of various reservoirs here, you can really start to create that emotional connection between your users and the data themselves. This is an example of applying it to groundwater quality data sets, so you can see your time series. And this is a feature I really love in terms of being able to create interactive conceptual site models and filter through from the image through your data. But the cool thing about Power BI is it has the ability to connect to other tools in the Microsoft stack, such as Power Apps here, which allows us to automate data collection in the field, streamline that into a centralized database through the use of the tool Microsoft Power Automate. And then with Power BI, we can connect to that tool, and the Power BI report gets updated as new data becomes available. But it's this ability to combine data analytics with graphic design and also understanding of environmental systems that I think really paints a powerful picture and makes it a lot easier to be able to communicate these key insights to our clients. So that was just a pretty quick tour of Power BI. But now what I wanted to do was I'm going to try running a bit of a survey, because I want to get an understanding from those people on the call what your experiences are with Power BI. So if I navigate across to here, what I'm going to do is, just bear with me. So in the chat, I just want to, sorry, bear with me. So what you can see is I've got a bit.ly link up here. And if you navigate to the bit.ly link, what it'll do, it'll actually open up a Microsoft form. And so the form has two individual questions. So what is your favorite tool to process and analyze data? So Power BI. And how well do you know Power BI? So if you want to navigate to this form here, Janice, I was just trying to actually put it in the chat, and we start to get a few people submitting different forms or different information. You can see these tiles update, and we can start to get a bit of an understanding of who on the call knows knows or has heard about Power BI. So just bear with me. So I've just pasted that bit.ly link in the chat. I think looks like some people have found it, which is good. So if we go back out to the dashboard. So what I've done here is actually published these Power BI reports and created this dashboard. So I've pinned individual tiles from a whole range of different Power BI reports up into this dashboard. And I'll talk this through a little bit later on. So it looks like we're getting some results in, fair few responses. So this might get a bit interesting if people keep submitting responses, but I'll try and talk through it. So how well do you know Power BI? Looks like there's a lot of people on the call that have never really heard of it, which is good. So hopefully I can give you a quick fire introduction. And then some of your other favorite analytical tools. Yeah, a lot of people familiar with Excel and macros, spatial-based programs, so ArcGIS and QGIS, as well as custom code R and Python. So Power BI sort of sits mid-range, but no, that's quite interesting. I guess that's sort of what we expected. So if I just go back, I'll share again. Sorry for that. Okay, well, thank you for doing that. So moving on now, I just want to take you through 3 examples of how we've applied Power BI across different water-based examples. So Sharon and Sarah just gave a really good example of how the CCMA is visualizing WMIS data. What we've done here is we've imported information from the WMIS site. So we've downloaded the CSV files for different streamflow gauges, and we've brought it into this tool so we can start to visualize all these different gauges and all these information that we have across Victoria across a whole different range of different dates and times. So if we go into Moorable system, which is what we were just looking at in the previous presentation, what you can see is the interactive nature of going through these slices and then how it updates the map. We can select individual gauges from this map. So I've just clicked on this one here. Yep, so Moorable at Doran. Yeah, and you can see how the visuals update. We can also embed tooltips to see more information about Doran. But then we can also select different gauges from up here. So I think Morrison's was something that we were just looking at in the CCMA presentation. So we can type and look at Morrison's here. Again, you've got the ability to hover over the gauge in the map to get more information about daily, annual streamflow averages and other information on the gauge. But then you can also configure things such as bookmarks in Power BI to take you through to more detailed pages. And as you can see, what this has done is it's kept that same filter for the Morrison's gauge, but now it's providing a lot more information about what we want to see from the original WMS dataset. So we can filter based on these time periods, which automatically updates our information. You can hover over this to see more information about the quality codes of the data that we're looking at. You can see data gaps, and also it looks like spring is when we had the most stream flow for this particular gauge over this period. And then you've got different time series representation of data that you can bring. So if we navigate back out to the home page, that was an example of how you can show stream flow data across different gauges from the WMS site. So another example is the storages page. So I vividly actually remember this. So back in March 2019, I went out and I took some aerial drone footage of these catchments, of these reservoirs. And one that sticks in my mind is Melton. So I remember it on the time series chart, it was at 4% storage level. So all of us on the call know that 4%, it's quite low, but it's when you start to show exactly what 4% looks like in terms of reservoir storage that you can kind of get that understanding in terms of what that must mean for the systems and the sort of pressures that we have on those environments that rely on that water. So that was a little snippet of Melton. But if you compare that to Thompson Reservoir, which we're all probably familiar with, it really helps to paint that picture of connecting what the data means across the time series to that point in time of when you can present it to your clients or your users that navigate through these Power BI reports. So that was an example of another way to show WMS data. I'd like to show you now, this is another one that we've put together. So this is a synthetic data set of how we've collected community survey responses for what the community values in terms of waterway information. So we've got here the map and different responses or keywords that our customers have given us from a feedback form. So say I'm managing the Eastern District and I want to understand what customers are saying about waterways in our Eastern District. I can click on this slicer up here and then it automatically filters. And I can see that customers value sustainability and reliability in terms of waterway systems and management. I can also see at a glance that suggestions for improving our services are associated with improving footpaths, walkways, and creek health as well. And so if I also want to then investigate into these postcodes, you can use features such as the lasso tool in this Mapbox visual to be able to understand how community values or what the community responses are to these individual postcodes, because you select that and then these visuals update automatically. So this is just a quick example of how you can tell your data story through Power BI based on an example of community feedback form data sets. And the last one that I just wanted to take you through is looking at, again, a synthetic data set of a water balance study, which would be quite common to a lot of people on the call, I'm sure. So water balance, obviously water supply, water demand, it's extremely important in terms of looking forward and managing our future supply. But if someone's pick up this Power BI report and they don't have that background knowledge and concept understanding, this is an introduction page that we've set up where individuals can select each of these different features and it connects to this interactive infographic here, this conceptual site model, and then it can tell what the feature is on both here and then gives you an explanation of what the feature actually means and a little bit more context as to what we're looking at and the definition of these different terms. But then if we explore the data, we can present information in clever ways. So again, using a combination of a map with matrices and also time series data really helps us paint a powerful picture. But if we look here at, say, Melton, where you can see that we've updated, we've got example modeling scenario results here, where we've got our baseline conditions. But what if we wanted to predict what the impact to our water balance is going to be by our population growing 53% and our climate changing by 11%, whatever that means for respective rainfall and temperature over these years, then you can see that our water balance decreases by an average of -61 gigalitres per year across Werribee. And that's represented here as an overall difference. But then what if you want to see for individual supply and demand? You can create hierarchies here to dig deeper into the information to see what that negative 61 actually is broken down to in terms of different water balance supply components and also water balance demand components. We've also configured other bookmarks down here to be able to show other visuals for our users so they can get more information. So here's an example of where we've used simple trend analysis. I'll blow this one up. Simple trend analysis to understand how the water balance is predicted to change based on minor and maximum thresholds looking forward in the future after our modeling study. And then another cool feature in terms of decision support tools for how you can manage these, manage the future supply of water is looking at this from an overview holistic perspective. So we've got our average annual water balance deficit or surplus here. And then it's just another way of visualizing the matrix where you can bring more information such as tooltips. So we can see the time series of what our modeling results are looking at, and also our supply and our demand, and then break that down even further and filter through this information as we go. But it's not just about our project data. One of the cool things about Power BI, and if you noted my fun fact, you'd say that I'm a bit of a AFL tragic and a Fremantle Dockers fan, is that you can use it to showcase any sort of data set. And here's just a really fun example more than anything else about an AFL dashboard that I've put together, which has grabbed information from big CSV files. And here what we've configured is a page to show you match statistics of any match that you want to select going back to 1987. So if we choose 2013, if we choose round 3, you click on this. And then you can click on any match that you want. And it's just a fun way to be able to show that for the Collingwood versus Hawthorn match in this year, this is who won, who lost, the different team stats. You can see who was positioned what on the ladder, and also see different individual stats. So what I was trying to really explain from the quick demonstration of Power BI today is that it can be a really powerful tool for visualizing data of any kind. And so if you're interested in learning more, where to from here? I'd suggest you can install Power BI desktop file on your computer. You can explore using your own data or some fun data as well. There's a lot of blogs out there online and different forums, and there's a lot of structured learning formats as well, so formal training courses. And that includes at DiscoverEI, where we run training courses tailored for environmental, water, and the groundwater industry as well. And with that, Janice, that is the end of my session. And yeah, I'd love for you to reach out and connect through me with any of these sort of channels, and let me know what your Power BI or data visualization experiences are. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Christian. That was amazing.
It was a bit of a whirlwind.
A lot of information, but a great way to see how turning complex data into something meaningful and useful to everyday people or people in the professional industries, and how they can better utilize that to reach out to others that's fantastic. I'll have a quick look here, and what have we got in the Q&A? We've got, how were these Streamflow dashboards created? Can you help indicate how long it took to set this up?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we developed the Streamflow dashboards just more of as a proof of concept. It wasn't for a particular project. So that was mid last year, and probably about a week. But the good thing about Power BI is, unlike the traditional custom code interfaces such as R programming or Python, it is a low code entry level into being able to use these tools to manage and present that data. So really with the WMIS data sets, we went on the website, downloaded CSVs, and then we're able to import them into Power BI. And you can start playing just by clicking, dragging, and dropping to build some of those cool visuals. But in terms of bringing some of the interactions between visuals and different calculations, then you need to get to that higher level of understanding. But yeah, it was probably about a week to put that one together.
That's great, thank you. I've got another question here from Sam. What software did you use for the nice 3D conceptual site model?
Yeah, so that was put together in Adobe Illustrator. And then the visual, so Power BI it's got over 200 different out-of-the-box visuals, as they say. And there's one called the Synoptic Panel. So created the infographic in Illustrator. You export it as a .svg, so a scalable vector graphic. And then you can use the Synoptic Panel visual to be able to build the different interactions. So you define where the reservoir is, where your groundwater aquifers are, and then you can connect that up to the data in that way.
Awesome. I also have a question here from Jasmine. Where can I find out when the next structured training sessions are being held?
We have them on our website. So yeah, DiscoverEI.com, and you can find more information there. There's a lot of other a few other Power BI training programs out there, but yeah, we really focus on a lot of what I've shown today is what we focus on in our training courses, because it's relevant for all of us as in the environmental and water industries. So yeah, please go to our website.
That's great. Do we have any more Q&As coming through? I'll just switch over sharing the screens.
Sharing.
There we go. I'm just trying to see if I can't see any other Q&As coming through. No, that looks like that might just check the chat in case anyone's using that. Just thanks from everyone. That's great. Thank you for everyone for attending today. I guess we'll wrap that up. We've sort of just hit the mark, so that's fantastic that we've kept on time. And I thought all the presentations were amazing. So thank you so much to all our speakers today, to Rianda and Luke and Sharon and Sarah and Christian. I thought that was really entertaining to find out all the different ways that you can use data. And it's really great to see that, like, understanding sometimes some really complex situations can be described and translated in such a way that makes it so much easier to understand, because I'm a very visual person myself, so I find that really, really useful. So I'll just let everyone know. Everyone's coming through saying thanks, so that's great. I hope everyone stays safe and well in the coming months. The River Basin Management Society will be hosting a few more events later in August and September. And if you want to find out more about that, you can head to the website on www.rbms.org.au. And if we have no further Q&A, we will end the session there.